This is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. My name is Trudy Leong. I am the administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Bill Morton cannot join us today. My very, very special guest is Andre Smith. He is running for Illinois House of Representatives, 5th District. Welcome, Andre.
Well, thank you, Trudy, and thank you to the audience that is viewing today. And I am so glad to be here representing the 5th District in the state of Illinois.
Andre, first of all, you told me that you are the great-grandson of Kerry Williams. So could you share with us a little bit about the story of Kerry Williams?
Well, Trudy, many people in Chicago or the state of Illinois are not familiar with the Kerry Williams story. Her and an attorney, black attorney, named J.R. Clifford, in 1864, Kerry Williams was a school teacher. And she felt that and knew that she was not being treated fairly. She was not getting equal pay, and the other colored teachers was not getting equal pay. And the students was not getting equal treatment. So she, during the Jim Crow era, she filed a lawsuit in 1864 that went through all the proper channels and reached the Supreme Court, and it was passed. So now you have fair treatment and fair equal pay for the rights of colors. And that was 100 years before Brown versus Ed.
And she was able to find a white attorney to help her.
No, it was a black attorney.
Black attorney was...
Color, yes.
Oh, well,
yes.
Lucky for that black attorney, he was able to become an attorney. In that era, must have been very, very difficult.
I mean, can you imagine 1864, slavery is just about to... the slave masters is about to release the slaves, some of them, because the law is passing. In West Virginia, you have the Ku Klux Klans, and a bold young colored teacher by the name of Kerry Williams decided to make a stand for equal pay and equal treatment. That's amazing.
Well, in what ways is Kerry Williams' heritage in you? Because you have told us that you grew up in the Robert Taylor homes, and in the Robert Taylor homes, it was very hard for a young boy to grow up and be successful, or am I wrong?
Well, Trudy, you're absolutely right. And during the time when my family resided in Robert Taylor's, I was a young guy full of trouble. You know, one day I still see myself looking off the balcony that had chains and a fence, and I see myself still looking into the sky, asking God, where's my father? And it was hard, you know. It took a while for me to change. How were you influenced to? I know that your father was not there, but who instilled in you that there was still God? Well, my brothers. You know, I had religious brothers that, you know, always studied, you know, and talked about God. And, you know, God you can't see, but you can feel.
And they also grew up with you in the Robert Taylor homes?
Yes, yes.
But what were you doing versus what they were doing?
Well, you know, I was fighting. I was doing all of the above that you can think of a young man should not be doing. And, you know, I was hopeless. You know, I would go to school and I would hear people say nothing good would come out of the projects. And even today, I still truly fight to prove them wrong. That something good can come out of Robert Taylor's. Something good can come out of the places where people have forgotten about and left out and turned their back on. Something good can come out of it. And I'm going to prove them wrong, and I still fight today to make sure that that story do not come true.
And then what happened to help you turn around and think this way?
Well, Trudy, if the truth be told, I was a troubled young man growing up without a father in the projects, as people say, gang infested, drug infested, and you can't live in that situation without being a part of it. So I done all of that, and I seen the worst of the worst and been a part of the worst and the worst. And truth be told, my mom has passed, but she was the first person to decide enough was enough. And she called the police on me and told the male officer and the female officer that came in to take me out there, take me to the Audi home. The female officer said to my mom, she said, "Can I talk to your son for a moment?" And me and the female officer went into the bathroom in the projects, and we sat down and talked, and the female officer came out.
What did you talk about?
We talked about, I might get a little emotional because my mom, she's passed. But we talked about me feeling like nobody cared about me. And I had to grow up by myself, even though I had family members. So I was a product of the projects. My mentality was to survive every day. And to survive every day, I became a beast in a human body. So the officer came out and told my mother, she said, "Ma'am, I'm not taking your son anywhere." And my mom looked at her and she said, "This is your baby son, and he feels that you don't love him." And my mom had my niece in her hand and 4 other children around her, which was my nieces and nephews that she was taking care of because my sister had passed. And my mom looked at me and she said, "Is this true?" And I had the female officer on one side, the male officer on the other side, and I shook my head. And I said, "Yes." And my mom said to me, Trudy, with a tear rolling down her face, she said, "I love you. I would always love you. You're my baby son." And Trudy, that's when I felt love. That's when I felt that somebody cared about me, growing up in the projects. And I decided to change that day from who I was.
How old were you at the time?
I was around 17, and I would have been like any other young man, a statistic, in jail, incarcerated, or strung out on drugs. But when I seen that tear fall from my mom's face and she told me that she loved me, I had to change, and I fight every day now to, one, prove people wrong that said nothing good could come out of the projects, and then to show the people that's in the unfortunate situation that if I did it, you can do it. So.
And then, so how have you taken this experience and help improve the community? Have you changed other lives because of what happened to you?
Well, Trudy, from that point, I went to Job Corps and almost got kicked out because I took the same mentality to Gokana, Illinois. Even though I wasn't on 41st and Federal, I had the same mindset and I almost got kicked out of Job Corps. Mm-hmm. And then the individual told...
Were there people bullying you and that's why
No, Trudy. I was from the projects. I was the one that was bullying everybody, fighting everybody, taking things. Because I left the project, the mindset was still in me. Mm-hmm. So I just took a bad situation to another bad situation, to a good situation and made it bad. So the man told me that he's going to kick me out if I do one more thing. So by that time, when he left an hour later, 2 hours later, he had to come back because I took a combat boot, steel-toe boot, threw it over the locker and hit a Hispanic guy and swole his eye up. So the man come back and he looked at me. He said, "I'm not going to kick you out. I'm going to make you finish." And then I became a welder because he saw that I was a troubled kid and I was just releasing violence.
He saw the potential.
Yes, that I didn't see in myself. So I became a welder. And then at that point, I was making good money. I was around 17, 18 years old, and I was making around $600 a week living in the projects with nothing to do with the money. I had good money. And I was with the union. So then at that point, I would hang with people 50 years and older. And I would ask them when at work, if you was my age, what would you go back and do? What would you do? And like 2 or 3 of them said, I would be an underwater welder. I'd be an underwater photographer. I would be an underwater inspector. And I was like, underwater? What is that? So I called the guy from Con America that got me into Job Corps. And I said, hey, what is this underwater welding, underwater photography? He said, oh, yeah. He said, you interested in it? I said, yeah. Because I was interested because they say I make a lot of money. You know, so he made some calls. Then he told me, he said, okay, it's going to take $200 for the application. It's not refundable. It wasn't going to him. It was going to the college. I sent it, and a lot of my friends was like, you crazy, you know, but they wasn't making that money legally like I was. Truly, let me tell you, I was accepted into the #1 deep sea diving school in the nation called the College of Oceaneering in California, Wilmington, California.
Did you need a recommendation from the man who helped you?
I don't know if I needed any recommendations from him, but he made it possible for me to get into that school. Now, even though I was making $400-some an hour, I mean a week, $600 to $400-some after taxes.
Right.
When I went to that school, I was the poorest kid there because it's deep sea diving. You had doctors, lawyers' kids, you know, military children in that school. They had Porsches and everything. Porsches, they had all kind of nice cars, and I'm there, and I'm like, okay, you know. But to the grace and mercy of God, I took that, you know, I became a commercial diver. I came back to Chicago. I did some stop logs and some underwater work for ComEd, you know, doing contractor work and things like that. And that's where my life began.
And then you were making very good money. How did you decide to give back? At what point did you decide to give back?
Well, I went and I took up barbering. I had like about 6 barbershops, and some of my barbershops was named Just by Faith because I got from where I was to where I'm at by faith. So I had those, and, you know, then I met this group because I was in the entertainment business. 3 police officers that used to rap was called the Slick Boys. And I became their role manager. And we went all over the country teaching education and not incarceration. You know, it was amazing. They had the TV show called New York Undercover. When in California, when they sung the song We Are the World, we were there. We were in Africa. We was everywhere. And we went in jails teaching education, not incarceration. So that's where my giving back started.
And what about individual lives? Could you tell us about some of the people that you touched individually instead of like you're on the stage and they watch you, but
yes,
individually?
So there was this young man in Parkway Gardens, what they call O Block. He was one of the...
Is that a project as well?
Yes, right on 64th and King Drive. He was over a lot of the young guys, and they were at war, and they shot him. They shot him in the eye, and they wanted to kill him. So he was getting out of the hospital, and a friend of mine called me and asked me if I can help because this guy couldn't go back to Parkway, or if they knew where he was, they was going to kill him. I said, because the person that called me was close to me, a close friend, I said, yes, I can help. I allowed the young man to stay in my house, in my other spare bedroom. And as his mother cooked him food and nourished him back to health and things like that, I done that. There was another individual on 65th in Drexel. in Woodlawn. He was out shooting, and he was out selling dope and just bad. He was like a little me back in the days, but I wasn't shooting, you know. But I took him because I was running for office, alderman. I took him and I brought him into my office and I talked to him because I was talking to myself, you know, and I told him, I said, look, if anybody out there try to get you back into the gang, let me know. I'll deal with it. I said, I want you to come and work with me. I'm a mentor you. Anything you need that I can do, I'm going to do, as long as you're on the right side of history. He started doing petitions because we were working for Lori Lightfoot. He did petitions. He was making good money. He was like, wow, this is legal. This is easy. He just saw his face behind lit up. And he would go downtown and get the petitions, come back, and I would pay him, right? So then I found out that he didn't have a high school diploma. He had dropped out. And I put him back into the alternative school to finish. Mm-hmm. He finished with honor rolls, on being on honor roll. Great, I was like, wow, that's all it took. Mm-hmm. I bumped into him about a week ago, and he was like, did you know that I was valedictorian? Did you know this? Did I know I did that? And I was like, he said, I'm doing good. I ain't never going back to the gangs. And I felt good because a lot of people say, if I can save one person. Well, I'm not trying to save more than one person. But I'm thankful for the one person that I have saved through the grace and mercy of God.
What about the young man that was shot in the eye? What happened to him?
Well, I haven't heard or seen him. You know, I know that his mother and them had nourished him back, you know, and I don't believe that he went back to, you know, the things or the old behavior that he did, you know, and if he see me, he's always thankful for what I've done. And Trudy, I'll tell you like this, I've done a lot of things, but I don't try to remember them because I don't do them for myself. I don't go out promote myself and lift myself up for things that I've done. I gave away barbershops. I gave away all kind of things. You know, so I don't promote myself because when you promote yourself, you've done it for the wrong reason.
Why did you give away your barbershop? Whom did you help with that?
Well, there was a young man that just got out of jail, and he would walk past and see me playing chess at the barbershop, and he would come in and start playing chess with me, and we started talking. He was a leader of one of the gangs, right? Mm. And that's all he knew was, you know, that type of mentality. So we would play chess, but while we're playing chess, I'm talking to his mind to try to get him to change. He started, you know, having a liking for me. So he was like, okay, and I started telling him how much money he can make as being a barber or owning a barber shop. Mm-hmm. And he would come by every day, and I told him, I said, you know, if you walk away from what you're doing, I'll give you one of my shops. Mm-hmm. He walked away, and I gave him the shop. I kept my word.
How's the shop doing today?
Well, sad is to say that he passed, and, you know, yeah.
Was he killed by his own life, or was it just like had nothing to do with the life that he had been living?
Well, he went back to the life, and that cost him his life. Mm.
Well, anyway, when you there's so much other community work that you have done, and tell us tell us some of the community work that you have done and why you chose to do that kind of community work.
Well, when Ron Emanuel closed the 50 schools, I fought against that to try to keep our schools open because it was so important to our children. Mm-hmm. So important to the parents that lived on the block or the block away, and they knew that their kid was safe because their kid wasn't crossing gang territory. Mm-hmm. I fought for grocery stores, good healthy food, you know, in our communities.
Were you able to get the grocery stores?
Well, we got a Save-A-Lot. I mean, we got Jewels, you know, things in that nature. I also, you know, Trudy, there was a group of people that came to me a while back ago, and we sat at a round table like this, mm-hmm. and they were telling me some seniors and stuff, and they were telling me about their living condition on Kenbar in Woodlawn on 61st. And they would tell me that they had holes in their floors, their sink was falling off the thing, they couldn't walk down their back porch, the heat wasn't working, rats was running over their children. They painted a picture of all the horrible things that you can be living in a development. And I told them, I said, I'm going to come to your place and walk through your apartments. And if this is true, then I'm going to stand up and fight. It was true. I stood up and fought for them. Those developments are all redone. That's what we call putting in work.
Who did you collaborate with? Give us a little bit deeper story about what happened, how you were able to accomplish that.
Well, real quick, because we're about to close, I knew I couldn't get, because it was a powerful individual, I knew I couldn't get the inspectors in Chicago to cooperate because, that's how politics is. I went to D.C. Me and this organization, we went to Washington, D.C., got the HUD inspectors to come to Chicago. They went through there and wrote up so many violations and took the property from the individuals, and now those properties right now are totally remodeled.
So did they put it into receivership under somebody else who took it over?
He was forced to sell.
Forced to sell. And what was the organization that you were working with?
Well, it was an organization called STOP.
STOP. S-T-O-P.
Yes.
Okay. What about now when people come to you and ask for your help in housing because it's so hard to find housing? How are you able to help them?
Well, Trudy, if anyone come to me and ask me for help, I'm a man that I believe, I'm a man of faith. I believe out of the 6 to 8 billion people on the planet, why did God allow that person to come to me? So I'm obligated. Long as it's within the right side of history and is within right, I'm going to do my best to be involved and to help them.
Is it, depending on the situation, you would recommend which resource to use? Because we see that all the time, and it's so hard to find the correct resource to help someone that is becoming homeless or is homeless.
Well, that's true. When, we call and ask for help, when I'm saying we, the unfortunate, the people that don't have, is not living wealthy and things like that, when they call for help, the language is to them, we ran out. There's not enough. You don't qualify. And that's not right. Because now we see millions and millions of dollars going to people that has not paid into the tax system and that's not a citizen of the U.S., that have not worked in the U.S. and can't work in the U.S., but they're getting millions and millions of dollars that people like veterans, seniors.
So right now, if a veteran were to and a senior were to come to ask you for help, you're not able to give them the resource to help them, or are you able to?
Well, I'm going to do the best that I can. Seniors ask for food, I'm going to go and find food or take it out of my pocket and buy food and things like that. I try to find the resources within the state or the city means, but when like a 91-year-old lady that I know very well in Woodlawn called 311 and said she was hungry, she wanted something to eat, they told her that she didn't qualify. And I don't know how was that possible, because at one point she was getting meal on wheels, but they told her she don't qualify. So, yeah.
Well, Andre, could you give us some information about how our viewers could learn more about you, and if they have more questions, where should they go?
Well, Trudy, thank you for this opportunity, and for the viewers, you can reach me or my campaign at smithforfifth.com or at smithforfifth, Phil spelled out, at gmail.com. Thank you so much. And the website is smithforfifth, the number 5. So and thank you all so much.
We have 10 more seconds. What happened to your 91-year-old friend?
Well, she's still living in Woodlawn, and she has been a voice in Woodlawn for a long time. I mean, you know, I call her mother, you know, because my mom has passed, and she's a great inspiration.
Thank you so much for joining us on Community Unity Now, the D. Tycoon Show. This is Andre Smith. He is running for Illinois House of Representatives for the 5th District. And I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next week.
See you.